Yes, hello, folks. Welcome to Beyond the Pitch. I'm Phil Brown, as always, and absolutely ecstatic to be joined here with the fantastic Paul Bright. You can catch Paul at Paul Bright Coach. Paul is a UEFA A licensed coach and technical director of the Coaching Manual here in the US. We're going to do a series of shows with the Coaching Manual. We've now partnered with them. A lot of this is going to be tailored towards an American audience, but truly it's useful for a global audience. We're going to discuss youth soccer in America, the state of youth soccer in America, the direction of youth soccer in America, how the Coaching Manual can help if you're a brand new coach to the game, if you're an experienced coach. Coaching Manual is a wonderful resource, no matter where your intelligence or knowledge is in the game. And we're delighted to be able to bring that, because so many people in this country that are new to the sport, or even if you're experienced, have so many questions. So, Paul, mate, first of all, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Phil.
Wonderful. Paul, just to continue the introduction to yourself, mate, you, like I said, a UEFA A licensed coach, US technical director of the Coaching Manual, but also someone that worked at Manchester United's academy for 8 years. You worked at Everton, you worked at England. So highly decorated coach, someone who worked with the likes of Marcus Rashford and other young players, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I worked with the foundation phase and the younger end of the club at Manchester United, but some of those young players have now gone on to achieve, reach the first team and not just at Manchester United, but other Premier League clubs as well. So it was a pleasure to be involved with a club of that magnitude from such a young age and such an early start of my own coaching journey. And it was a case of, I was in one of the biggest clubs in the world who at the time were producing professional players year on year and still are. And it was a case of just listen and learn and watch what people are doing and see if I can implement it.
Let's start with youth development in America. Where are we at in terms of the state of youth development in this country, Paul?
Well, it's a huge country, as we all know, and different areas, albeit at different levels. The first thing is a number of people, parents and other coaches have said, why have you moved from the UK to the US? The potential here is huge. There's so many young people playing the game now. There's a real interest in soccer as a sport. And the US has always had that competitive spirit, the facilities, the resources, and the athletes as well, to be able to compete on global stages across a number of sports. The key with soccer is the open-ended nature of the game and the number of variables within the framework of the game. This is why it's the world's most popular sport, because it's so easy to pick up, so easy to run with and get a game going with your friends. But ultimately, it's about learning those principles of the game and understanding what skills and what techniques fit where in what situation. And that's the challenge that lies ahead for the US.
Well, you're relatively new to this country. You've been over just a short period of time, about 2 months, right?
Yep.
If you had to make an early comparison to youth development in the US in comparison to the UK, what would you say?
I'd say that the kids at a younger age, the younger players coming through are on a par. I think it's when you start getting into the specialisation around middle school to high school age in this country where the comparisons become a bit more wider in terms of game craft and game understanding and game knowledge. And that's you've got to take each individual and each club and each team on its own merit as well. But I think the culture that exists back in the UK is different to the US. You know yourself, soccer or football as we call it, you can't get away from it. You can be, you can be in the hairdressers, you can be in the supermarkets, you can on the TV, on the radio. It's 24/7, and everybody's got an opinion on it, rightly or wrongly. Everyone's got something to say on soccer in the UK, whereas in the US, I think that culture, I think, will come with this young generation as they grow and develop and get older and have their own children. But I don't think it's quite there yet on a parent level across the board where it's absolutely ingrained. There's so many other sports in the US and so much competition, especially here in California as well. And that culture is a big part of things as well. I do believe that.
So if you were to say what creates a separation between, you were saying, around the middle school age of kids in the UK start to create separation, is it culture? Is it coaching? What is it that starts to create that separation for American kids?
Do you know what? I'm a big believer in it. It's that dedication and that selflessness and self commitment and drive to go. You know what? I want to be a professional soccer player. I'm
Hmm.
going to give it absolutely everything. But alongside that, you need the right information. You need the right coaching at the right time. Or sometimes you need people to recognise, a coach or a parent or other players to recognise, you know what, this young player's got it about him. Let's just leave him alone and just challenge him a bit. So players can be overcoached as well. And it's getting that balance right, the right information at the right age group, and allowing players to go, you know what, go and have a go at this now and tell me what you've learned. Why did you come up with those decisions? What did you see in the game? And having those conversations sometimes is as valuable as stopping a session and going, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and think
Hmm.
about that. It's again, it's the art of coaching and the type of coaching and experiences you get as well.
Paul, you said about overcoaching there, because this is an important point. When I look at the finished article for American players, they're very similar. They're good at the basics, but they lack the things sometimes you can't coach, like instinct, creativity. We don't produce good goal scorers in this country. We don't produce skillful players. We don't produce players that are traditional number 10 playmakers. We produce players that are good athletes, that are good at the basics of football, and are, if you look at the US national team, very much of a mishmash of average to me. And I don't want to hate on American football because I want the country to do well, but I think we have to be honest about where we're at. Are we looking at the kids that are overcoached in this country, to where the essence of the game sometimes is learned by not being coached? It's learned in the street. Are we looking at kids that are overcoached?
There's, I think it's a number of factors, Phil, but that could be one of them. And it's similar in the UK as well now. A lot of organised
Hmm.
football or soccer, a lot of organised structures. Now, I also don't believe that street football is the answer as well. We cannot just let players go out and think about it and make all the decisions, because some players, no matter how many games they play, will not be able to work certain problems out. I use the analogy of if one of my two kids did a math test at school and they got 8 out of 10 right, I'd be praising them for the 8 they got right, but I'd be
Right.
hoping that the 2 that they got wrong, I'd try and help them correct it. We wouldn't just leave them to, you know what, go and work it out and keep experimenting. That might be the time to step in and support them. Soccer's no different. You know, we've got to get that balance right as coaches globally to say, you know what, when we need to step in and coach and support you, and it's the how as well. Do we question? Do we tell? Do we create scenarios and practices what tease it out of the players? And then also we've got to let them stand back and have a go and see if they can self-correct and see if they can work it out for themselves. But ultimately, again, I think some of your point is coming back to, Phil, that coaches on the side need to understand the game and understand when to intervene, when to step in. You know, your child's learning to ride a bike. Every time they fall down, you don't pick them up every time. If they're going into a road in front of a car, you'll stop them, or keep pedaling and keep the momentum. There's loads of analogies I can use, but it's getting the balance of when do we step in, when do we leave them to have a go. But ultimately, the practice design and what you're giving them has to look like the game. That is bottom line. I see a lot of, not just in the US, but across Europe now, I see a lot of technical practices, what are really, really, they look great. The players are getting loads of touches on the ball, but they have no idea where it fits in the game.
Hmm.
So if you're not painting that picture of, okay, we've learnt these skills, we've got those touches in, the next question or the next step in the exercise should be, now where does it fit in the game? When are you going to do it? And why would you choose to select that skill at that moment in time? I believe, and me and you have had the conversation, I believe that players now, globally, are technically better than ever before.
Hmm.
I don't think they're tactically as good as they were a few years ago, 10, 15, 20 years. Look at the class of 92, for example. I don't think they're tactically of that level because of that, maybe that overcoaching and technical coaching upon technical coaching upon technical coaching. The technique has to fit in within the framework of the game of soccer.
You're a parent, whether in the UK, wherever you are in the world, you have a child. How old should a child be before you start integrating them into a coach team? Should you let them play on their own up until a certain age? What's the ideal age to start pushing kids into a team and a coaching environment?
Great question, and it'd be good to get a definitive answer, but I'm going to say it depends on the individual, but I'm going to put a bit more meat on that. Kids need to be able to have fun. That's the bottom line. When you get introduced to the game, it has to be fun. Because if it's not fun, and if it's a constant shouting or barrage from the side and the parents and the coaches, the young kid is going to go, forget this. I don't want to play this game. This isn't fun. We have to, again, as coaches and parents, allow kids to fall in love with the game first. So that has to be fun. You know, get touches of the ball. Enjoy it with your friends and your peers. Go and play and have that experience of scoring goals, winning games what don't really mean anything, but they mean everything to the kids. Losing games what don't mean anything, but mean everything to the kids. That's the first step for me. Once they've developed that love for the game and that technical competency, that's the time to push them into club soccer and organised soccer. If you do it too early, it isn't fun. And the minute something's not fun, we know a child is going to turn around and go, don't want to do this anymore. Some parents still take them at that point, but are they going to do it when they're adults or young adults? Not the answer is no, because it isn't fun. It has to be fun. Now there's loads of rec programs in the US, and they're great experiences and introductions. But also, if you've got a son or daughter who at those rec programs is a standout and they have developed a love for the game, that might be the time to move them up. Can they play a year up? Can they play 2 years up? Dip them in and find out. And if not, pull them back out and put them back into the rec program until they're ready. Likewise, there's going to be players who are not going to be able to play club level until they're 9, 10, 11 years old maybe, because they still see it as fun and a social activity, which it is, and they're still trying to get that technical mastery. So they have to want that love for the game. Throwing a kid straight into competitive club environments is difficult for the majority of kids. I could name you examples of kids who never played recreational level in the UK and are playing within academy structures at home and have been submersed in it, but there's not that many of those guys, because that love and that passion has got to be there.
Paul, from an American parent, new to the sport, how do I tell a good coach from a bad coach?
Another great question. A good coach from a bad coach. First off, he's got to have the best interest of the players at heart. So a good coach will be welcoming, will be open, will allow players to come into the fold and play with their team and have fun and encourage and praise. A good coach will also correct when they need to correct, and will coach around the principles of the game. Also, a good coach will communicate, in my opinion, will communicate with parents in terms of this is what your son or daughter is really good at, or this is what they need to work on. And that communication piece has to be there as a coach. So, because ultimately the players spend more time with the parents than anybody. So good coaches as well will try and educate parents. Now, there's coaches with all different levels of experience. But those fundamentals of being open, approachable, having the best interests of the players at heart is standard, should be standard across the board. From there, a good coach, I mean, there's conversations when you get into club level about equal playing time. That comes again under the best interests of the players. Do they see winning over development, or is it we want to win but we also want to develop, or is it all about development? We're not concerned about the score. Now, that sometimes has to match up with the priorities of the parent as well. So a good coach will ask a parent, what do you want your child to get out of this? Because there's no wrong answer. If a parent turns around and says, well, we want to win trophies, then is that wrong? That's not for me as a coach to judge. But if your philosophy as a coach is, well, we want to develop players within this club, then you need to say that to the parent. You need to be matched up.
Is another identifying factor, Paul, the ability to put on sessions, a variety of different sessions? Because when I see a limited coach, for me, one of the giveaways is the fact that your kids are doing repeated sessions that are the obvious ones, you know, lay off and shoot. Very little to these sessions. Is that a giveaway that if a coach is very limited in the variety of sessions that he's able to put on, that maybe he doesn't have the experience?
It can be experience, or I've seen experienced coaches do that as well. It's about, again, it's about being proactive and having the best interest of the players at heart by planning and continually assessing your players. So if you worked on a possession game with your players and 5v2, they can keep the ball really well. You're not going to continue doing 5v2 exercises. You're going to ramp up the difficulty until it becomes 5v5 maybe. And then you're going to drop it into specific areas of the pitch. Also within that, you might have individuals who are on different levels. We call it differentiation. So in any activity, you're going to have players who are striving ahead and are doing really well. You're going to have a core group of players who can deal with the task. And you're going to have players who are struggling to deal with it. A good coach within that session will recognise that, will challenge the players who are doing really well. So it might be, right, I want you to recognise when you can play in 1 and 2 touches. The players who are getting by through the session, which is normally the core of the group, you continue with the activity. And the ones who are struggling, you might make some safe zones for them to say, you know what, if you get the ball in this area, no one can tackle this player. Because you want that player to succeed and get to the level. A good coach will differentiate and give individual challenges within those practices. And like you rightly said, those practices throughout the season will progress and develop, even though they may look similar, because the game is the game. The complexity and the challenge for the player should continually be ramped up when they're ready for it.
Folks, this is Paul Bright from the Coaching Manual. You can subscribe to the Coaching Manual if you're an experienced coach. If you're a new coach, you can go to thecoachingmanual.com. So many of the drills on there, basically what you're going to find on there is a compendium of different drills that are very simple, that are laid out with very specific intent behind the drills. If you want to master attacking, 4-4-2, whatever it is. They're for the lay coach, they're for the A-licensed coach, and a lot of them are demonstrated with the Coaching Manual's partnership with Southampton FC. You'll see it on video. But it's a brilliant resource. If you're a mom or a dad or whatever and you're getting into coaching, this is, Paul, how much is it for a subscription?
It depends. There's the free level, so people can subscribe for free, but you'll only be able to access certain parts of the site. And then it goes $3, $5, $8, all the way to the top subscription. So $8 and you can access all our sessions, all our videos, all our articles, podcasts, and our new features, which are going to be coming online in the next couple of weeks as well, with session planning tools and season plans and things like that.
Folks, we're going to be doing a number of these shows. What we're going to get into in these shows are winning, the difference between winning and development. We're going to get into what conversations parents should be having with their kids on the way to games, on the way back from games. What parents should be encouraging in children? Should they be encouraging effort? Should they be encouraging talent? Recognizing things like that. What diet kids should be eating at certain ages, the benefits of club soccer versus rec soccer, so many different topics. If there's something you want us to cover, drop me a tweet or post it on our Facebook. I'll cover it with Paul. We'll be doing these every week with the Coaching Manual. Thanks for watching this, folks. Paul, mate, thanks for joining us and doing this introduction. Looking forward to getting into these topics over the coming weeks more and more, and providing valuable information for parents, kids, and coaches that hopefully will help make the game better in this country, mate.
No, thanks for having us on, Phil. You know what I'm like. I'm always happy to discuss soccer, and whilst I've got my opinions, I'm willing to, put my experience out there, learn from other people, and ultimately we want to help improve the game. We want to help raise the standards across the board. That's why we do what we do. We want to improve the game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Paul, all the best, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.
Cheers,
Thanks a
mate.
lot.
Bye.